Welcome back, guys, to Late Checkout. It is insanely cold in Zurich. I know in New York it's also very cold. There's a common misconception that like Switzerland's essentially like an ice castle. It's not. Typically, it's not this cold in January here. I swear, I find that New York typically is colder than Zurich because you guys get those like polar vortexes and those wind tunnels in the city. I do not miss that. But here it is giving New York a run for its money. It's freaking frigid. And I got to figure out ways to keep warm, like not just like physically, but like mentally warm. So I've been upping my acupuncture game because it helps my immune system. Like it just nourishes and nurtures all those amazing energy meridian lines going through my joints and my organs and just uplifting my chi, which honestly really effing helps. On top of that, the Bad Bunny album dropped, so that's keeping me spicy and warm. Thank you, Bad Bunny. I love it. I'm loving the album so much. We have this cute little joke in the house because the first song on his album, Nueva York, is a song that for some reason, when it gets played in the house, my dog literally will wake up from a nap and like get up and like start wagging her tail. It's the cutest thing alive. But that album is definitely keeping the house nice and cozy and warm too. I love it. And I'm in nesting phase, guys. Like I have 6 weeks left if I'm lucky. And we are just in full nesting mode in the house, which I feel like is bringing warmth to our energy and just like purging stuff out, bringing stuff up from the cellar, all of Leandru's like clothes that, oh my God, it's crazy how many clothes he had and like how much help we have and a baseline we have from him being a baby for this baby. So that's also been really fun. And I'm just really trying to keep up the momentum of January and having the time to get some things checked off my checklist, but in like a peaceful way, not like in a rushed, crazy way. Also, I have some exciting news for late checkout. I came up with this awesome idea a few weeks ago because I realized as a one man show, I do not have the bandwidth right now to really juice up and beef up my podcast notes the way I would like to when I'm mentioning all of these activities or services that I do, or mentioning people like my website girl I remember shouting out last week on the episode, and any Airbnb, any hotels, anything that I mention, I do not have the time to sit there and link all that good, juicy stuff into my notes. So I have come up with the idea of making a late checkout newsletter, which will essentially be a roundup that gets sent to your inbox with all of the details and links and articles and references and any extra little notes that I really want to elaborate on for you guys. This newsletter will have all of those exclusive details. It's a time of the month where I'm able to really just sit down and give you all the information I want to be giving you because this is the whole point of the podcast. I love that you guys listen in, but I also, as a listener of podcasts, can definitely forget some of the details that I had listened to. And it's stuff that I like want to remember, So when I see people posting something after I've heard their podcast, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I wanted to have that link to whatever denim she was talking about. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to be able to share more information with you guys. You'll have a newsletter for each month, recapping each month at the end of each month, and it'll just be sitting in your inbox. And whenever you think back and want to remember something I had mentioned, all you got to do is go into your little inbox, look up the newsletter, and everything will be there for you. Just head over to my website, laurajanela.com. That'll be linked in the show notes. It's always linked in the show notes, but just go over there, sign up to my mailing list. You'll get a little gift initially as well to all my subscribers. I'm so excited to have my emails up and running, but also you will have exclusive access to all the exclusive content and details. And I promise sneak peeks to what's coming. I promise more information about my guests and being able to better have access to them. So I'm looking forward to sharing all that with you guys. Hope you guys join the journey on the email list. And yeah, this week I want to just have a fun recap about my Ibiza retreat that I took last year. I know I mentioned this last week on the career shift episode because this retreat came up because of my career shift, right? Like I wanted and felt the need to get away to essentially have this like physically symbolic moment to turn the page of the chapter that I was leaving from accounting to the creative industry. I also was in flux. I felt like I needed more clarity. I felt like I needed to get out of my environment in order to clear my head, to seek just some more answers, make sure I was listening to the right inner guidance, inner voice, flex my trust muscle with myself because it was such a big shift and such a big move. It felt like I needed to get away, and not get away with friends, not get away with my husband. As much as I enjoy both of those types of trips, I knew this was the kind of trip that I needed to seek out and enjoy myself. I know I needed the answers from just me, and I wanted to drown out any type of interference and essentially disconnect to reconnect. And I felt like the retreat was so helpful. I also find that with retreats, there's a ton of these pre-organized ones that are orchestrated by brands or companies, and I've never been on one of those. I would love to experience one day, if not a few. But I also found that for this particular calling for a retreat, there were too many that had a very particular focus. For example, a lot of the pre-organized ones that were in the areas that I wanted to go to had a lot of yoga focus. And as much as I love yoga, I didn't want to do it 3 times a day. That's not what I was seeking. I wanted some of that, but I didn't want it to be a full thing of that. And I didn't want like a full week of just meditation. Like I kind of wanted a blend of different things that were calling me. So I really loved the idea of building my own custom tailored Laura retreat to get away, especially because it was such a particular pivot point for me in my life. And I also want to say that when I'm sharing the information about my trip and details, like, I don't think you need to have this super obvious transition and big milestone, or not. Like, it doesn't need to be something so obvious that you're like, oh my God, I need to get away. It can be that you are just tired and you feel run down, you feel burnt out, you feel like you just have this little inner calling telling you, please, let's get away. Like, I want to reconnect with myself. And that, I think, is something to understand, that when I'm explaining this, it doesn't need to be this like big grand thing. It doesn't need to be this super expensive thing. Really, a retreat and time for yourself can come from your own reasons, and it can be something as short as 1 day to 10 days. It can be something as close as an hour away from your home to a 10-hour flight away. So don't reject the thought because you don't think it has purpose enough, or because it's not far away enough. There's so much that you can take away from just simply getting out of your daily environment and being able to plug into your own needs. And after I go through all the little fun details about my trip, I definitely just want to highlight and break down just some easy steps for you guys to be able to follow in order to plan your own retreat. So, in general, I picked Ibiza because from a timing perspective and from a woo-woo perspective, I will say that. Timing perspective, I only had, I think, like 3 or 4 nights that I could go away with planning with my husband and him taking care of the baby and stuff. And I wanted to make sure that window of time just had as much me time as possible. So I didn't want to travel that far, right? So I capped myself at like, I don't want to go more than a 3-hour train ride away, or max a 2-hour flight away. So Ibiza for me was one of the things on the option. The other one was like the Dolomites or the mountains, but like to be near a lake, because I really wanted to be near water. I feel like water just replenishes my soul, and looking out at water and like seeing sunsets and just being outside and looking at the stars in that type of setting, I know how much that pours into my soul. So that was really important for me. But timing especially was too. So the mountains from here can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. And then thinking about some of the islands that I wanted to go to, Ibiza was the only one that really stuck out to me because, from a woo woo perspective, energetically speaking, it's supposed to be one of the most energetically aligned places in the world. And I've been twice before I went on this retreat, and it was not for a spiritual journey whatsoever. It was for beach vacation, party vacation, unplugging in a different way because that also serves. But Ibiza is also really well known for people who are seeking, these spiritual self-discovery paths and have a very successful time finding themselves. And they say it's because of the way the energy flows through that island. And I think that also has a lot to say for the rest of the island and the fun party energy that comes with it as well. But that's just like one piece of the island. Like the rest of the island is gorgeous, guys. Like the beaches, oh my god, like, I feel like like, don't sleep on Ibiza, don't sleep on any of the Balearic Islands, honestly, they're freaking amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of how I settled on that. It's about an hour and a half flight from Zurich, so I was like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna go there because I know they have the resources that I'll be looking for." Like, I know they're big on yoga and meditation, I just have to look up massages and the other things that I also wanted to do. So, okay, I wanna make sure I stay in a hotel because I'm a female solo traveler, like, you gotta be safe, like, sorry, ladies, I just could not Airbnb it up by myself, even as somebody who is well traveled and going to an island that's not necessarily considered unsafe by any means, but, like, being by myself, I wanted to be at a hotel. I wanted my head count to be, like, accounted for, I wanted to be able to see a hotel manager, say hi to people in and out. I wanted cameras, like, I just you never know. Unfortunately, us ladies, we gotta be super safe about everything. So for me, I felt particularly more comfortable in a managed facility. So another piece of my accommodations that was super important to me was having a wellness center of some sort. It didn't need to be big, it didn't need to be grand, but just like a gym. I wanted a sauna. I wanted a place that I knew I could do like my stretches and also spend time with myself at the hotel. I definitely wanted a pool. I wanted to make sure that this time away, yes, I wanted to do services and yoga and other things, but I really wanted to make sure that the hotel and accommodation itself, I was able to have access to the option of getting some wellness stuff done too. So the hotel I actually landed on was called like Boutique and Spa Hotel La Mimosas, which was the cutest boutique hotel, like boho chic, so well designed, like minimalistic but clean, and all these beautiful flowers everywhere. The food was amazing. The manager was amazing. I feel like she held my hand the entire time, just making sure I was fully taken care of and checking in. And it was kind of nice because I felt like she also knew that I was there to reconnect with myself. So we got into some really cool discussions and conversations, and everyone there was just so nice. Like, the pool was so great. The rooms were so great. I need to put out a vlog on it because I feel like this hotel really deserves a moment. But yeah, the area that I was in, it was walking distance to the beach, which I wanted to be able to have access to the sunsets. I wanted to be able to have access to having dinner or a drink on the water. I wanted to be able to, have my feet in the sand and just ground myself through that. Now, when it came to the stuff that I really wanted to get done and do when I was there, it was a list that I had made. And I'm going to go over this later as well in terms of like how you can plan your own, but I essentially made a list of things that I knew I definitely wanted to experience, that I felt a calling for, that I thought would help me in my journey and in the process of like what it is I was there to do, which was essentially to connect to myself, connect to my inner voice, really get aligned with my higher self. Like, what is my purpose? What is my higher self here to do in this world? How is that showing up in this new career? I wanted to know that I was on the right path. I wanted to make sure that I was following the right guidance within myself. So, Some of the things that were on my list to do was to have a guided meditation session because I fucking suck at meditating. I'm not like any meditation I've ever done, it's always guided, whether it's like on my phone, um, like through an app or something. Or this was in Ibiza, it was my first time doing it live, like a guided meditation session, which I thought was super cool and interesting. But by myself, guys, the meditating is harder than it seems. I wanted to reconnect to yoga because I used to do yoga all the time in my 20s. Barely do yoga now, like at least at this point. I was barely doing yoga. My workout has evolved so much. Like my workout and fitness life has evolved so much since my 20s. So I really wanted to reconnect to that mind body connection, like the breath work in yoga. I really wanted to work on my nervous system. Like my nervous system felt like something that was priority for me to just regulate and slow down and take a breather and just know how and what I can do to be helping it. So I felt like things like yoga and meditation would be helpful, but I didn't want to do that all day, every day. I just wanted to have some really good sessions to take away some benefits from it that I could apply into my daily. I wanted to do a nature hike, which again, Ibiza, effing gorgeous for nature hikes. There are so many beautiful cliffside nature preserves around the coast of the water that just provide so many different trails. Like you can really do a lot on that island. I really think it's one of those places that can check box for a lot of people, like the adventurer, the person who wants to beach it up, the person who wants to relax, or the person who wants to party. Like it's a gorgeous place. I also wanted to experience some kind of like either a somatic or craniosacral massage because typically in those massages, you're moving any type of stagnant energy that could come from stress or from trauma or anything in your daily that gets caught in certain areas of your body, right? Like we tend to hold our stress in certain areas. I tend to hold it in my back, my chest, and my throat. And these massages help move that energy through your body. And it's so important to physically pay attention to where you hold that in your body and not just the mental aspects of how your stress and trauma are treating you. So I wanted to have something like that. And I also wanted to try some type of like new ceremonial therapy, right? Like I wanted to get woo woo. I wanted, I watch way too much fucking Bravo, and there's so many times where you see these women like going on these little vacations with themselves and they do like sound bath therapies. And I'm like, I've never done that. I want to try it out. It looks relaxing. So I had that on the list, or like a cacao ceremony. And then there was the aspect of just wanting some like beauty time for myself. Like I really wanted to end my trip with a facial. I wanted to have, if I could fit in, like a lymphatic drainage massage, again, just like cleaning out the system, also symbolic to me. But most importantly on this trip, out of all those services and things I wanted to experience, I really built in these time blocks and time for me to just be by myself, be at the hotel, have time for journaling, have time for naps, have time to sit with myself, and in between these services, like allow them to be integrated into me. I didn't want to be on this go, 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 run, run, run from one thing to the next, because then I don't feel like you're letting yourself like truly absorb whatever information or experience you just had. So I definitely built in times to have slow meals, to journal. At the time, yes, again, I'm bringing up TBM because the guys, TBM is life to me. They were having their summer challenge where you focused on the biggest thing that is your block. And I felt like it was such a perfect time to have that challenge be kicking off because they had so many great journal prompts for me to focus on and to reflect on. I think journaling during a trip like this is, regardless whether you TBM or not, I'm just saying, even like freehand journaling during a trip like this is a nice way to slow your brain down. It's a nice way to kind of just like data dump, like get stuff out of your head and onto paper and process it and leave it there, you know. So that was my list. That was what was important for me to get done. And I'd say I think I booked like 85% of what I wanted to get done, which is actually really good for, last minute planning. I was able to get in like a private yoga session, the private meditation class. I was able to get a energy massage. I ended up not going with the somatic or the craniosacral. I went with what was called like a sense massage, which actually was very similar, but it also had the element of cleansing and clearing out any generational trauma that was stuck with me that like my great grandmother or great grandparents or grandmother had passed down to me. So it was like deep. It got woo woo and it was really fucking cool because the massage therapist also sat with me for like 40 minutes after and like broke down like the energy she was picking up on, telling me what was stuck with me from generational past history. She gave me some guidance on like what to connect to, like telling me to reconnect with my feminine because I had been carrying too much masculine energy. She gave me just a really great overview of all of that stuff, and on top of that, I felt like when I left, like I felt like I was gonna melt. Like I had noticed the difference of like weight being lifted, and it left me feeling like jelly. Like it was so good. And I ordered some room service and I knocked out. It was phenomenal. I'm definitely going to be in the newsletter, going to give you like all the links to the places that I went because everyone that I dealt with and had was amazing. Um, I also found this really cool half day retreat in Ibiza, which was my opportunity to kind of connect with other people because since I was by myself and I was going through this alone, I did want to have like one opportunity to be able to have other people around during an experience, right? Like this half day retreat essentially was this really long nature walk along the cliffside. It had outdoor yoga, it had sound bath therapy. I experienced what like Hawaiian meditation was like, which was really fun and interesting, and I got to do it with like a group of like 7 girls, and I think that was like a highlight for me to see other people around seeking the same type of groundedness and reconnection with themselves. It wasn't I didn't feel so alone on this, and it gave me the opportunity to kind of connect with other people about like why am I there, what's my intention, and just sharing that with other people just made it that much more fun. I also enjoyed going around to boutiques in Ibiza. I only had one afternoon to do this. It was like after I had lunch for this half day retreat, but there is something really special about the boutiques on the islands of Spain or even mainland Spain. They just have such great style in these boutiques, and they have the best sundresses and cover up dresses. And if you're ever in Spain and you're walking around anywhere, pop into boutiques and shop. I also like went in and out of some like crystal stores and metaphysical stores and got some stones that represented connection to like my creative and intuitive side. So I feel like that added a little bit of like a spiritual sense to my week as well. I was able to get that lymphatic drainage massage, and I actually was somebody that was able to come to my hotel room and do that, and it wasn't an outrageous price. So it was like nice and in the comfort of the hotel. I didn't have to race around and go anywhere. My biggest coincidence of that week was that it happened. And guys, I swear to God, I did not plan this because it sounds like something I would plan. But that week, there was a full moon in Sagittarius, which, if you've been listening, that is my sun sign. And I was completely surprised and shocked that I was there that week. It really gave me that little, I don't know. I feel like the universe or God was like giving me that wink, like, yes, like you're supposed to be here. Like, yes, and that felt validating too. So there was a cacao ceremony on the night of the full moon, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so going to do this. Like I've never done a cacao ceremony. Let's go." I think it was like maybe a step too hippie for me. It was out there in terms of just energy releasing and like screaming and like being on the beach and the water. It was a different experience for me. And I think that's the whole point of these retreats and these moments to connect with yourself. It's like finding different ways to connect with yourself, and not all of them are gonna work. Some of them you're gonna walk away from and feel, like, really silly that you did, but you got to say you did it. You got to try it on for size. Like, I do not regret it for 1 second, especially because it was a full moon night, and I did get some good conversation out of it with the woman who was running the entire program. So, I had that be one of my big things on one of my last days, and I successfully also got to book a facial for the night before I was leaving. So, the week itself was very nourishing. It gave me a lot of reflective points that I was able to bring home. I didn't go home saying, like, okay, I know my exact plan, but I went home feeling so connected to myself, so plugged into myself. I felt like I had given my soul the tools that it needed to continue forward on following my intuition, following these ideas and these inspirational random pings I was getting with confidence. It gave me the ability to feel like, okay, I am going in the right direction and I feel secure in that, right? Even though, like, the way through a career shift is so up and down. That trip alone, I think, bought me 3 months of time of confidence that I needed to be building to keep going in that creative direction. Like, if I didn't just stop and go and listen to that calling, I think it would have taken me 3 months to do what I did in 1 week, which not even 1 week. I was there for like 4 or 5 days. And I say that to encourage anybody who has any slight calling, any slight feeling that you need to connect with yourself. Like, I really truly believe that that is for a reason. I feel like your inner you is saying, like, hey, we need a breather, we need a moment. Please prioritize that, right? All right. So, quickly, I just want to kind of break down easy steps for you to follow if you do want to plan something like this. Number one, your very first sign of wanting a trip like this, I've already said it, you have an inner calling. You're here, you know you need it, you know you want it, or you heard a podcast like this, you feel inspired, you also want to get away. That's great. I feel like that's the very first step in all of this. And now the next thing you need to bring yourself to is ask yourself, what type of environment do I want? Like, what type of geographical, like, backdrop do I want? Do I want to be in nature? What type of nature? Do I want the beach? Do I want to be in the mountains? Do I picture myself in a log cabin or in the middle of plains and, like, fields? What is it right away that comes to mind when you ask yourself that? Because typically, a picture will pop up into your mind immediately, and it's probably showing you what you define to yourself without you realizing as, like, a safe space, like a nourishing space. So I would follow that. For me, like I had mentioned earlier, I really wanted to be around water. And now that you have this environment that you're envisioning for yourself, you can then ask yourself, okay, how much time do I have to get away? Is it 1 day? Is it 2 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 10 days? Because now you'll start having this idea of, okay, if I only have 2 days to get away, my recommendation, I probably wouldn't even take a flight. I would just drive somewhere. Or if you are going to take a flight, don't let it be more than an hour flight away. You don't want it to eat into your time, right? I think with the amount of time that you have and the environment that you want, you're able to come up with a place that you can go to that is within your time frame, that is what your soul is calling to you, and you can move on to the next step, which is picking your accommodation in that particular area. For those of you who are not big travelers, my number one thing is to always just ride on Google Maps. Like, I love Google Maps so much because you're immediately seeing where the accommodation is. You're immediately seeing what the reviews are. Everyone loves Google. So utilize Google Maps as much as you can when you are planning any type of travel. Pick your accommodation on what best suits you. For me, I really wanted somewhere that was boutiquey, that had a wellness center. I definitely did not particularly want to be in an Airbnb as a solo female traveler. So things like that, you want to make sure that filter on that. Like, if you really want somewhere that has a gym, you can filter on Google Maps a place that has a gym, right? So I think just getting and fine tuning what it is exactly that you would like to have access to would be super helpful. And once you have that nailed down, you get to the fun stuff and you get to build your itinerary, you get to build your list. It is not overwhelming. I promise you, it may take a little bit of time, but if you follow the way I did it, I think it's so important for you to get down what is it that you want out of this trip, right? Maybe you don't want any services. Maybe you don't even want to do anything physical like yoga or whatever. You just want to sit by a pool, read, journal, do whatever it is to just unplug. That is totally fine too. Make that little list so you know I definitely want a pool for my hotel, or it still is going to help how you want to plan out your time away. Get a list down of what it is. Like I'm sure at this point you're already kind of know some of the things that you would like to do, like what's calling you already to do. So get those on a list. I think it's cool to be able to know what you want, but if you're unsure, then at least be willing to be inspired by the local area and what they have, especially if you're like around a place that has lakes or trails or something like that, because you can kind of take advantage of doing things without paying a penny because you can go out for the walks yourself and maybe just have intentional moments of reflection while you're out there and stuff. So definitely be open, but also know that your list should have this somewhat of an intention to reconnect with you. Once you do have your list, again, bring up Google Maps and get those searches in. So if you have that you want to do a Pilates thing, go to that area, Google Pilates, all the Pilates places will come up. You'll be able to scroll through reviews. You'll probably have like one or two places that stick out to you. And what is my favorite feature of Google Maps is that you can flag things, you can pin things, you can mark things. So going through your list, going through Google Maps, add them to the want to go list, like flag them immediately. And then you're able to go back after once you flagged the places that you're interested in, and you can call them up or you can email them and say, okay, what's your class schedule look like? Or what's the availability for these dates? Because that's the dates that I'll be in town. What do you offer? Is there a discount rate? Is there, ask your questions, reach out to them. And then from there, you can kind of start building out your week. Another reason why I love using the Google Maps app is because you'll know the proximity. You'll be able to map out, do I want to rent a car? Do I just want a taxi around? If you've driven there, you obviously have your car already, but things like that to kind of be considering when you're organizing everything. And one of my biggest things, and I mentioned it before, is just making sure you put in blocks of time to have downtime, to have slow meals. Don't rush around. I think if you're away for a short amount of time and you do one or two max services, that is good enough. Like that will give you what you need and what you're looking for in that time frame. Booking yourself up all day and all night on both days, I think you're going to come back more tired and you're not going to have allowed the experiences to integrate with you. So just be intentional about that. I think it's so important to build out and block out those times to get that time alone and also just get some good sleep. I think good rest is really important on these retreats. So if you're more of a visual learner and this audio stuff is kind of going in one ear and out the other, for this January roundup newsletter that I'm going to be sending out, I will be attaching the PDF of my itinerary that I built for myself in Ibiza. So you'll be able to see how I mapped out like my Monday to Thursday trip with all of these different things that I did. And on top of that, blocks of time to be at the hotel and to be spending time with myself. And I think you'll find that super helpful. So I'm definitely going to include that for you guys. And yeah, once you have everything booked, that's like it. You're essentially ready to go. Like book your flight, make sure you have the time that you're going to be taking off or you're going to be leaving to drive, and you'll be on your way to reconnecting with yourself, which is absolutely beautiful. One thing I absolutely love doing, and I really enjoyed doing while I was away, is that I bring my favorite products or products that I've been meaning to use that have just been sitting in my bathroom that I haven't had time to use, like scalp scrubs and hair masks and face masks or particular body oils or body scrubs, sheet masks or LED wands, like anything beauty. wise, I bring with me and I have an afternoon or a morning or an evening, whatever, just pick out a block of time to use it and like take that long ass shower, that like steamy long shower where you've put in the hair mask in the morning and you get to wash it out and you get to just come out all scrubbed and, and sit in your robe, put a towel around your head, put a face mask on, and just like melt into your bed. Guys, I did this one of the nights, and it was like the second or third night that I had probably ordered room service. It was so good. I was so relaxed from the shower and from doing everything and just taking that time to honor my body and give myself that moment. I fell asleep in my bed for like an hour and a half. I was so relaxed. I also want to say another essential is I know I'm saying this so much, but bring a journal. I feel like a journal is so important on these trips. Even if you're not a journaler, it is proven to be so helpful for clearing space in your head, like declutter your brain, journal some things out, even if it's one page. And also, if you're somebody who doesn't want to spend too much time by yourself inside the hotel or the room or not feeling the journaling thing and whatever it is that's calling you, do it. Because I think it's also nice to get curious about what your self is asking you to do to feel reconnected. Like if it's walking about town and going to find a smoothie spot, go do that. If it's going to watch the sunset or the sunrise, like waking up early and seeing the sunrise, do that. I definitely had moments like this when I was away as well. Ibiza's really well known, especially on the west side of the island, for their phenomenal and beautiful sunsets. Anything that's calling you to just feel grounded into yourself, do it. It's just a time where you literally get to do whatever it is that you want to do. Take advantage of it. You're going to feel delightful after. I think you'll come back from this trip feeling lighter. You'll feel recharged, reconnected, and I don't know. I think that's just one of the most important feelings to have. Your cup will be filled and you'll be able to come back a better version of you, which is amazing. Guys, I'm here for any follow up questions on this. You can DM me, you can email me, like you're able to contact me whichever way through Instagram or my website. But I'm also really thinking about making a Facebook page eventually so I can really get this community flowing and growing so we can talk to each other about everything under the sun when it comes to travel and wellness. So whenever that comes up on the to do, I will definitely keep you guys in the loop because I don't want this to just be a one-way street. I really want to hear from you guys as well, and I want everyone to be able to help each other. The creative flow is flowing, guys. 2025 is off to a great start. I hope it is for you as well. And I will see you next week. This is it. I'm capping it here. I don't want it to be as long as last week's episode, but I hope you found this fun and helpful. And I'll see you later. Ciao, ciao.